Now that you have read the whole poem at least twice or thrice, let us try to understand or analyze the poem together. So let us go stanza by stanza. The first stanza says, six humans trapped by happenstance. Happenstance means fate or coincidence. You may note it down, note down whatever I'm saying in your note in your book itself. Six humans trapped by happenstance in bleak and bitter cold. Each one possessed a stick of wood, or so the stories told. So we know that we are going to be told a story. So the story is that six humans are trapped in a cold situation, and each of them, they are carrying a stick of wood. Now, the story, if a poem is in the form of a story and it gives us a message or a moral lesson, then it is called a parable. Parable. So this poem can also be called a parable, and we see the six human beings are trapped by happenstance. The word trapped is very important here. There's the implication, the meaning is that there is no escape. They are trapped by situation, so they cannot escape the situation, and they are humans. So before that word human suggests that before their identities of caste or creed or anything else, or race, they are human beings who have physical and emotional needs and who are susceptible to both hatred and cold, and they are unfortunately, the failure on their part to recognize this basic fact becomes a cause of their doom. So each one of them has a stick of wood, and this wood isn't merely a physical object, but it's a symbolism. It's a symbolic object also. It's a symbolic of a resource or a potential that all human beings possess. Okay, so it is our willingness to use what we have for the sake of others that will keep the fire burning. So here we see it's a cold situation, and each one of them has a stick of wood. And if we go to the next stanza, what do we see? They're dying fire in need of logs, but the first one held hers back. For of the faces round the fire, she noticed one was black. So the fire actually was dying, and it was bleak and bitter cold. So, and since each one of them, they had a piece of wood, a stick of wood with them, they could have easily kept the fire burning by giving the fire their piece of wood. But why did the first one held hers back? Because she saw that someone was of black complexion. So she is a racist who discriminates on the basis of skin complexion or skin tone or skin color. So she did not give the fire because she saw someone was black. So this, and we will see later how this dying is not only a particular condition but the fate of the characters, and the people are all dying. So then the next person, the next man, let us go to the third stanza. The third stanza says, the next man looking across the way saw not one of his church, and could not bring himself to give the fire his stick of birch. So why did the next person did not give the fire, the stick to the fire? Because he was an intolerant person, religious bigot. A religious bigot, bigot. A bigot is a person who is intolerant of another person because he or she does not share the same opinion or idea. So this person is a religious bigot, plain and simple, because it discriminates anybody who does not share the same religious views as his. So he does not give the fire his stick. Next, in stanza 4, we see a third one, sat in tattered clothes. So in tattered, the word tattered tells us that it was a poor man. It hints at his poverty. He gave his coat a pull. He pulled his coat, adjusting it to so that it is very cold, so it's torn and tattered, to warm himself probably. He gave his coat a hitch. Why should his log be put to use to warm the idle rich? So he's thinking, why should he put his log into the fire to warm the lazy rich people? So he is defensive. He adopts a defensive position. Okay, in his eyes, the rich do not deserve his small, his bigger ration. So this person is also guilty of discrimination. He discriminates on the basis of social class or classism. So even he is not free of the guilt of discrimination, the sin of discrimination. Now in stanza 5, what do we see? The rich man just sat back and thought of the wealth he had in store. So he has amassed a large fortune, and he kept on thinking about his hoarded riches. Okay, he is oblivious to the reality, and he does not care, and how to keep what he had earned from the lazy, shiftless poor. Shiftless, the word shiftless means aimless. Okay, so according to him, the poor people are lazy, and they're shiftless, they're lazy, they don't have any aim in life. Okay, so he only thought of his own wealth that he has accumulated, and how he might keep the riches away from the hands of this lazy and idle poor. So as a result, he too held back his firewood. Okay, so it is interesting to see that both the rich and the poor kept the firewood to themselves due to the same underlying prejudice. Both consider each other to be lazy and idle. So both are wrong. So these stanzas show how prejudices develop when people are isolated from others and do not belong to the same racial, economic or religious group that they belong to. Now in stanza 6, we see the black man's face bespoke revenge as the fire passed from his sight, for all he saw in his stick of wood was a chance to spite the white. The fifth person was a black man with the dark-skinned person, and this was his chance to take a revenge on all the wrongs done to him. All he saw in his stick of wood was a chance to exact revenge upon the white-skinned man. So he is a victim of racial discrimination, and he has decided to give the white guy a test of his own medicine, even if it translates to him dying as well. So even if he is going to die, still he is going to take revenge. Okay, so he himself becomes the abuser here. So from a victim, he is becoming an abuser himself, because it is his chance. So he also does not want, he could not think beyond his grievances, beyond his grudge. The last man on this forlorn group did not accept for gain. So this forlorn means hopeless. So there's no hope left for this last for this group. And the last man, he did nothing except for gain. So without some gain, without profit, he did not do anything. Giving only to those who gave was how he played the game. See how he played the game of their life. So that is how he did. The last person did nothing except for profit. He believed only in giving to those who gave something back to him. So he too did not part with his stick, as no one else had, since no one else is a very selfish person. So no one else has given the stick, so why should I give the stick? That is what he is thinking. So the selfishness of the sixth man is also a part of a larger problem. Everybody in this poem seemed to give only to those who give them social approval by belonging to the same class, creed or color. Their logs held tight in death's still hands was proof of human sin. They didn't die from the cold without, they died from the cold within. So the entire group dies, all holding their fire sticks. They have failed to be of use to each other due to their own prejudices. They refuse to acknowledge that each other's humanity, and in doing so, they die despite having the resources to keep themselves alive. So that is the biggest learning, that if you, so these people, all they did not die from the cold without, because they could, the cold that is outside they could have easily overcome. They could have, if they each one would have given his or her the stick to the fire. But why did they die? Because of the hatred, because of the prejudices, because of the feelings of discrimination that they had within themselves, the coldness in their heart, that was the cause of their death. So what is the moral that is brought from, we can get from this, as a consequences brought by the actions or inactions of these characters, who, due to their own prejudice and their ideas of discrimination, they went into the arms of death rather than saving their life by saving the lives of others. They were not ready to save the lives of others. If they had saved the lives of others, their own life could have also been saved. So that is the teaching or the moral of the story. So the symbolism, literally the cold is the outside, is the symbolism, symbolic of death, and the fire is the symbol of life, the communal fire, and the stick is the resource, that to keep the fire burning. But the characters, the difference, they see the characters in the poem see the differences between them instead of the similarities. These assumed differences result in hatred of the other person, thereby ensuring mutual destruction.